Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today I want to show you my classic IBM Thinkpad collection. As you know, I'm a vintage PC collector and I especially kind of liked always IBM ThinkPads. I don't know, they've kind of grown on me. I always liked them because of their build quality and reliability, and they have kind of developed some sort of cult status. So I got all of these, and some of them I bought, some of them I saved from the scrapper, and yeah, I'm pleased to say that all of them are working perfectly, and I will of course show you every single one of them in detail. But since these are all very old, the batteries are dead, so I can only do one at a time. As cool as it would look, all of them powered on, I just don't have so many power supplies, so kind of has to do for now. Anyway, I also included this fella in here, but that is not an IBM anymore. That's kind of the grandson from all of those. This is my daily driver Lenovo T460S, and that already is way newer than the rest here. And I will only focus on the IBM. So why don't we take a look? I've got them lined up from oldest to newest. And why don't we take a look at the first one all the way on the left. So before we start, I just want you to take a look at the design. They just look the same. There is hardly any difference to tell at first glance. And yeah, they stay like that. And to this day, kinda. I mean, sure, this is a little more modern, but the whole way of the design is basically still the same as this very old one on the left. So yeah, maybe that's also part why this got so iconic. I don't know, but I think it's a good guess. The first one here is a Thinkpad 390, and it is the oldest of the bunch. It's made in 1998 throughout, I think, 2000. They made this particular model, and you can definitely tell that it's quite an old laptop. When you take a look at the side, it's pretty thick, and it doesn't have a touchpad. It just got the track point, which goes throughout the whole lineup, as you will see. It doesn't have a webcam, obviously. And it's, you know, it's kind of a brick of a system. And I here modded it with an SD. So the hard drive in it was going bad, and I decided instead of replacing it with another hard drive, which can die in the future, I will replace it with a SD card. So I made it solid state, and it runs Windows Millennium Edition. I will just take a look at the specifications because obviously I cannot remember this from the top of my head. I'm just sorry, guys. So we have here a Pentium 2 mobile. That has got to be my oldest mobile PC I have. If you don't count the PowerBook, that's even older, but from the PC side, this is as old as it gets in my collection. It runs at 266 megahertz. So yeah, that's definitely old school. And when we take a look at the memory, 64 megabytes of RAM, which is plenty for Windows Millennium. It's got this Magic Media 256. I have no idea about this graphics card, guys. I just don't know. I've never heard of this, but that's what CPU-Z tells us. And yeah, what I like particularly about this is, even though it's older than this, you will see that later, this has a pretty nice screen. I mean, from a computer from 1998 where LCDs were just the new hot thing, this must have been cutting edge back then for sure. I will just take a look at the resolution. I think it's 1024 by 768. And it's got a nice image to it. Yeah, 1024 by 768. I can't really say this looks bad regarding its age, especially. And hey, it still looks good. Who knows how many hours it has on it, but it's still looking great. Also, another general ThinkPad trademark is, of course, the keyboard. Lots of people have given Lenovo crap for changing the keyboard because of this. You know, IBM, the ThinkPads, they were always the typing machine, the most awesome keyboard ever. I think Lenovo did a great job with their keyboard, but I get the idea, like I get the criticism. If you're used to this sort of keyboard, you know, it just feels, just open up Excel there, see how fast it did that with the SD card. It just feels so pleasant. So many modern laptops with all their fancy processors and whatnot, they don't even come close to this typing experience. Like, I could type on this all day, even though this is the oldest keyboard. It's still pretty pleasant to type on. So they did always nail the keyboard. Kind of missing the touchpad personally, and there was also a questionable choice of the power button on the side. And it's not even a button; it's like a thing that slides forward. Spring-loaded, I don't know. It's got a little damage here. A cutout for the USB port. Yep, USB. Holy crap. It's got a DVD drive. I put a DVD in here instead of CD, and even a floppy drive. So, yeah, what can I say? This is the oldest of the bunch, and I'm quite happy to have it. My only Pentium 2, and working perfectly. So, that is the oldest. Let's move on to the little newer one. So this here is a ThinkPad i1200, and I'm just throwing out a guess. It's made in 2000, and it might have been one of the lower end machines, especially in the screen department, because this is my biggest point of criticism on this device. The screen is just terrible. There's nothing making up for this terrible screen. So that's what I meant, that this one, even though being older, had a nicer screen than this one. And it complains about the BIOS battery being dead. Obviously, I won't buy BIOS batteries for those, since they would just go dead, and I wouldn't really have any use out of it. Just get out of here. And also, I guess why this might have been lower end is the CPU. We got not a Pentium, which was the faster chip back then. We get the Celeron, and it's also made for 98 or Windows NT. And also, I've modded this with an SD, and this was my first attempt on doing so, and it turned out pretty good. And this one doesn't run Millennium. This one runs Windows 2000, and it's also a little bit faster than the other machine. I don't think by a long shot, but it's got more RAM, processor is a little bit faster, and no matter how you try and how you tweak and set different settings, it just doesn't look good. There's no way you can make this display look good. This is an 800 by 600 display, and yeah, its colors are junk, and especially the viewing angles. But apart from the display, there's not a lot I can say that's bad about it, because again, it works even though being 20 years old. And keyboard, same as this, and I will repeat saying that, absolutely awesome. Still no touchpad, but the mighty track point. And I know a lot of people say this is the only way you should use a mouse on a laptop, the only input device. I mean, I get really the appeal of a nice touchpad with multi-touch gestures and all that. This is kind of for the hardcore guys. I personally don't use it that often on my daily ThinkPad, but hey, I'm still glad it's here. And what's also interesting is, that surprised me, this guy has surprisingly nice speakers. I don't want to play too long because we don't want to get copyright strike. But hey, the sound on this, just had to tell you that, is probably the best of all of them. So this is also a little slimmer, not a lot. Also, we got one USB here, here's where the hard drive would go. There's, if you look in there, the SD card with its adapter. And just put that plastic back on. The other side, again, optical drive. This is only a CD drive. And ports. There you go. This was used by a family. I got them this for real cheap years ago, and it was used in a kindergarten-like environment with lots of kids who were beating it and not being nice to computer, you know, with all these scratches and all that. But hey, it took that beating, and even back then it was vintage, so performed pretty nice for their tasks. They didn't do much, like only view some PowerPoints and whatnot. They gave it back to me for free, and I was glad to take it. Here we have its processor, Intel Celeron, copper mine processor, 500 megahertz. Look at those instructions. Well, not a whole lot. Anyway, it's vintage. What do I expect? Let's look at memory. 192 megabytes. Plenty for Windows 2000. You could even still put XP on here, but that would really push it, and then things would get kind of slow. So 2000 is just great. And we get also this graphics company, which I don't know anymore, Silicon Motion Linux EM+. So yeah, not Nvidia, not AMD, this is something different. And again, such as the other one, this has a SD card as a hard drive, so no thing that can die anytime. And yeah, it's running Windows 2000, fully updated. And it's really crazy fast. Look at this response time for such an old vintage computer. I'll just open up some things. It's an old ancient version of Opera. Here we got Open Office. Yeah, just do your thing. Oh, wait. Let's cancel that. Never register. Alright. So yeah, an SD card is a really good idea on such vintage systems. And it's only 2 gigabytes or so. So really not a whole lot of space by modern standards, but for Windows 2000, you've got some applications on here, some files. It's fine, you know. And it works fine for the couple of hours a year it gets used. So also the concern that lots of people have, oh, the SD card is going to wear out really fast and all that. It's really, on such a collector's item, you don't use it all that much. So for these couple of times I turn it on and show you something or play around with it, it's absolutely fine. That SD isn't going to go anytime soon, so don't worry about that too much. And yeah, so that's the I-Series ThinkPad with its terrible screen, but otherwise, great machine. Alright, number 3 is up. This here is a X31, and it's made in around 2003. Could be also 2004 or 5 or 6 because they sold it for that long. And it appears pretty thick, but that's only because it is attached to its docking station. So previous owner gave me the docking station, and if I pull this handle, it gets ejected from the docking station, and as you can see, it becomes rather thin, rather slick. And that is because this was IBM's portable option, its smallest laptop, one of the smallest laptops they had. And you can see that it's a little smaller, also a little lighter, and but no compromise made on the keyboard. I keep saying the same things, I know, but the keyboard is, even though it's a little smaller and it doesn't have as big of bezels on the side, it's still awesome to type on. And also, because it's smaller, we still don't have a touchpad. We only have the track point. But they also introduced this middle button, which is I think a scrolling button or I don't know. On my daily ThinkPad, I only use it to open up websites on the next page in the browser. That's basically the only thing I use it for. And When you fold it, it comes pretty small and compact. No CD drive, so that, yeah, quite an odd thing in 2003. USB, couple of ports, Firewire, oh yeah. And you can have your optical drive when you have the docking station. And when we plug it in, so let's turn that one on. And believe it or not, but I even used that for something. I even updated the BIOS. It would long time only say IBM Thinkpad, and with the new BIOS version it includes this Centrino logo. But I used that for restoring a really old Android phone where I needed Windows XP for. So this was even useful to me at some point. I think you can even see it in a video I made. And yeah, it came with XP, it was made for XP, and we'll just wait until it boots. Windows XP is starting up here, and this one is still all original. It's got its original hard drive and even its original installation of XP. And it's also quite more modern than the previous laptops I've showed you. It has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so a big deal. And this was used by the government. So when I bought that, I bought it from somebody who was working for the government, for the Austrian government. Anyhow, as you can see, there's still IBM registration here, Access IBM, all this piece of software, Amazon Explorer, and a couple of files I used to do things. Here we have under the hood an Intel Pentium M, pretty famous chip, and 1.4 gigahertz of clock speed. I think we have a gig of RAM, yep, gigabyte of RAM, DDR1 of course, and an ATI graphics card. And this machine is also my go-to computer when I need to run like some legacy software that only runs on Windows XP or something. It's just that the Pentium M is fast enough for everything, but most of the time. And also I'm not a gamer, so I don't care how well it plays any games. Also, I might add that these things were never really, even when they were new, they were never really meant to be gaming machines. They were just meant to be workhorses. I just use it if I need to run some old software here and there, because it's easy to get out. It's really small. It doesn't take up a lot of space on the desk or something. If I need to run some diagnosing software and whatnot, that only runs on XP, because, you know, some manufacturers are lazy or don't have the funds to develop the software further. This is my machine. I have another desktop machine which does the same purpose, but I just like it more because it's so small. So yeah, this gets even used from time to time, which is cool to see, I'd say. And such as the other ones, it works perfectly. Everything works on it. The Wi-Fi has troubles connecting to my router. I just think it's too old to work with it correctly. This one also has its Think light, which I call the ghetto keyboard light. Just a tiny little LED shining up here. It barely helps, to be honest, but yeah, that's what they did. And it has it. You can turn it on and off here. Don't need a driver or anything. It's just a hardware thing. And yeah, also normal screen, 1024 by 768. Just everything you expect from a work laptop from the mid-2000s. It's probably one of my favorites of the bunch. But I like all of them, so I can't really say which one I like the most, but maybe because I use it here and there. And last in my IBM Thinkpad collection is this. This is the Thinkpad T-Series. The name already suggests something. If you're into these ThinkPads, or if you're into ThinkPads and computers in general, you know that T is always good. Means ruggedness, reliability. This was one of these tough business notebooks from its time. And this guy is also a T-Series, so kind of lives on, the legacy lives on from this here. Now they made, of course, different models of this, but generally the T-Series was always very well received in the industry, and many people love it. including me. So let's power it on. Unfortunately, I think this one doesn't have an OS on it right now, and so I might just jump into BIOS and show you the specs there. Oh yeah, I tried to Hackintosh it. Look at me, how dumb I am that I even try that, but hey, I did. Sometimes when you just have too much time, like right now in the pandemic, you kind of start with these ideas. But anyway, it's not part of the video, of course. Here are the specifications. This is the Pentium 4 Mobile 1.8 gigahertz. And this chip is not really loved by many people because it runs so freaking hot. And also it makes a laptop sound like a jet from time to time. But hey, maybe a new thermal paste could help it cool a little bit more. But I don't know the exact processor number. So I don't know if it's a press hot or that's called press hot by the community. But I know it runs really hot, and it gets really hot when you touch it. But apart from that, whoa, yeah, that means the battery is. Come on, shut up now. Yeah, port-wise, just again early 2000s stuff. Audio. Here is the hard drive, expansion card slot. Hopefully it keeps going during I show you that. Optical drive, and in the back we got your regular stuff, including a LAN, which is great, and 2 USBs. Let's quickly plug it in before it dies here. Alright. Okay, let's tell it one last time. Keyboard is once again, oh what surprise, awesome. But this one also already had a trackpad, a touchpad, which is by modern standards, of course, you know, fun and cute and small, but back then it must have been pretty good. It's got 4 buttons, so that already kind of showed how they were going on. Later ThinkPads, also still Lenovo ones, they had this 4-button layout. And I don't know about the hard drive size in this. Does it say it's somewhere here? Can't find that right now. It's probably in here somewhere, but it's not the original hard drive. This was saved by me. I made a video on it. It was in terrible condition, was really dirty and abused, and I cleaned it off and it fared pretty well. Keyboard is a little worn, which is maybe an indication that it has really heavily been used. And also the back's a little scuffed, but in general it still looks pretty good, and all of them do, because they can really take a beating. They are just really tough, and maybe also that helped create this cult and this legacy from IBM. And especially again the T-Series is one of these tough books. There's Panasonic with its tough book, I know, so I shouldn't misuse this word, but it's a really tough laptop. I would see the Thinkpad T-Series such as like a Toyota Land Cruiser in computer form, just not really modern, but definitely dependable and reliable. I'd say people who buy these types of laptops, or bought in this case, they don't care if they don't have the latest stuff and the most modern stuff. They just want things to work. They just want to go to work, have a reliable laptop that they know that it's gonna work, and just be done with their stuff. And if I'm not wrong, this was also used in the ISS from NASA, and they still use ThinkPads, so there must be something good going for them, right? They can't be all bad. Anyway, guys, this is the last of the bunch, and yeah, I would love to get much more in the future of them. I'm always on the hunt for new ThinkPads, or well, new ones. Vintage ones, I mean. And I hope you liked my collection. I've had some Lenovo ThinkPads also that I buy and sell here and there, since they are usually still very capable. And yeah, but the IBMs are becoming obsolete and vintage now, so I hope I can get more of them in the future. It always kind of depends. If I see a good deal or if I trip over one locally, I will usually buy it, but yeah, for now that's it, and yeah, hopefully you like my collection. I certainly do. Thanks for watching and see you later.